Everybody. Um, as Elizabeth said, my name is Andrew Kappel. I am a customer success manager with Edmentum. And that, in a quick sum up, means my job is to support you in your use of our products. So, what you need, I will help with and ensure that you're able to use our products in a way that is meaningful to you and your students. Uh, all right. So I want to start today with our mission, vision, and values, and then we'll jump into an agenda, and then we'll jump into the important stuff, the program, how to use it, some of the tips, tricks, and things that you'll need to know as you progress through the content uh, and the program. So here we go. So at Edmentum, our vision, mission, and values, just so you can see where we come from as a company, a world where educators succeed and students thrive everywhere learning occurs. All right, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you can see some of our values there and our mission as well, and that we are here to support you and see students grow. All right, so this slide just shows that, yes, you have two of our products, Exact Path, which is in our assessments for learning. We're going to be talking about that. I think it's 2 weeks out. We'll be doing our training on Exact Path, and that is a diagnostic to assess where students are at and help fill their learning needs and those gaps to get them to where they need to be. And then in our digital curriculum portfolio, courseware is what we're looking at today, and that is a digital curriculum online for learners to progress through. So those are where those two products fit. We'll take a look at those today. Now, here's my information. As I had mentioned, I am your customer success manager. My email is there. I'll show it to you again at the end of the presentation, but don't hesitate. If you have a question to, please reach out to me and ask. Like I said, I'm here for you and here to support you. So I, prior to Edmentum, come from the world of education myself. I'm a former social studies teacher, instructional coach, and middle school and high school principal. And I've been with Edmentum just over a year now. So. All right, I know we have a really small group today, and that's fantastic because it means we get to have that intimate question and answer and stop me as we go through this. So please don't hesitate to do so. But just so I can get a measure from you of where you're at, kind of thinking of the stoplight with courseware in mind. Red, I haven't touched it. Yellow, I've dabbled in it. And green is, I got this. I just have a couple questions or need a refresher. That's why I'm here. You'll just pop that in the chat for me just so I can get a gauge of where you're at. That would be appreciated. All right, I'll give it another minute or so. I'm not seeing any yet, but that's okay. We're gonna progress, and I'll make sure that you have the tools that you need as we move through courseware. All right, so our agenda today, we're gonna look at courseware. What is it? From the student lens, so you can see what students see. From your lens, so you know how to manipulate and move through the program, how to move your students forward, see their progress as well, and then to identify some resources for you as well. See some colors coming through in the chat there. Thank you for those, green and yellow and orange. Perfect. Well, we'll skip some of the basic pieces, but I want to give you that chance to see these as well. So, all right. So by the end of this, by no means are you supposed to be an expert in courseware. Just like any other ed tech platform that you may have used, we know it's going to take you some time to get your hands on it and to manipulate and move through it yourself so that you get comfortable with it, right? This, at the end of today, you should be able to identify the key features, be able to use that curriculum status to effectively help your students progress through there, unlock and lock content, and then be able to utilize some of the best practices that we have outlined for students today. So there is our goals for today. So as we talked about, courseware is one of our programs, and within courseware, there's a number of uses. right? And I know you're primarily in adult basic education centers. And so thinking about the credit piece, right? We're going to have a course that we can move through there for original or first time credit, as we call it in a high school setting. But that's the full course, right? Or if there's a partial course that somebody may need, or they may have experience or background in Algebra 1, let's say, we can use what we call a prescriptive or a pretest to use that credit recovery, which just has them take a test and it opts them out of any content they might know already. So those are going to be our primary uses that we're going to look at. You can see we can just hone in on a unit or an assignment within courseware as well. We can use it both in-person setting and that blended learning idea of doing some online checking in with the teacher, or taking it and bringing it back and checking in with the teacher, or a fully virtual setting. And I know both of those are being used within the ABE programs in Minnesota. And then I won't touch on these too much, but we're continually expanding our catalog with the idea of college and career readiness in mind. Okay, so let's talk courseware. The courseware is designed with the learning design principles. I'm just going to click through these so they're up there so that you can see them as I go through. Right, so mastery learning is the first one. If we start on the top left there, we're going to really hone in on making sure students are learning what they need to know. Right, and courseware does that in a number of ways. The one I'll highlight is that students have to earn 80% in their tutorial or the direct instruction to unlock a mastery test, right? Or to unlock that test, and then to move forward, they have to hit that 80%. If they don't, then they'll go back to that tutorial. Right? Our scaffolding is built in there, built-in supports for students when they need them, right? And I'll show you those in the student side. Deliberate practice is pretty straightforward, right? It's laid out in a way that students have the opportunity to learn the content, to practice the content, and then to apply the content. Really, that's going to move us right over to that metacognitive strategies, right, where we're thinking about students applying, moving up that Bloom's taxonomy or depth of knowledge, and really thinking about what they've learned. And we'll highlight that within our unit activities when we look at that. And then the final two, right, active and engaging learning. It's manageable chunks of content and the explicit instruction, because we have to explicitly give students the knowledge and that transfer of knowledge happening there. So you'll see that one. Okay. So the course structure follows two places. We're going to look, when we go in, we're going to look at a core content class, which is your English, math, social studies, and science. And they're going to follow this structure. Every one of them is going to start with a student orientation and a course syllabus. And then you're going to get to the units. If we start on the left there, and we'll go into the middle on the units, you'll see that pretest, which is that optional piece. You can turn that off. That's the test that will exempt students from any content they already know. Then they'll have an online discussion, which I'm going to just preface this right here. If you don't have multiple learners moving through the content at the same time, that might be something we want to turn off as well, because there's not going to be a rich discussion. All right, and then after those two, you'll see your lessons, which is that tutorial or direct instruction, followed by that mastery test, which is a check for understanding. It's 5 questions. Students need to hit 4 out of the 5, 80% to move forward. Otherwise, if you look at the infographic on that bottom right there, if they get less than 80%, it's going to send them back to the tutorial to review it and give them a mastery test again, a different bank of questions. So after they move through those lessons, they'll come back, they'll do that unit activity, which is that application piece. That's where I talked about the metacognitive, thinking about the learning and moving up Bloom's. That's where we're going to see that. Then a post-test for the unit to see how they did on the learning. After they've completed the units, we'll come back and we'll either have an end of semester test or an end of course test to wrap up the course. All right, so we'll look at that side today. I do want to highlight this next slide, just so you know, outside of English, math, social studies, and science, The elective courses follow a different structure, right? They're still going to have the tools that students need to progress through the content. They're just going to go in more of a linear pattern. And you can see that outlined here, right? Some of the supports they'll need, and then the introduction, lessons, critical thinking, questions, activities, labs, flashcards, unit quiz, unit discussions, and unit podcasts. So when you come across those differences in the courses, please don't be shocked that there are differences. Just know it's the difference between core and elective structure. All right, I'm going to jump into the student lens and let's take a look at it. Let me hide this. Here we go. Okay. That worked for me. Great. Yeah. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing here. It looks good to me. All right, today we're going to be Justin Bieber. So when we log in, you'll see on the screen the student's name up top, right? The home is going to get them back to this page where their courses are listed. You'll see the messages, which is going to contain you can send a message, like an internal email to the student, but it's also going to show when you've graded something or submitted feedback to the student. It's going to show up as a message. And then their notes are going to be any note they take within a course is going to show up here. So they don't have to go into a course and dig and figure out where they took a note. They can just click here and they're good to go. So that's a really nice feature so that they don't have to do that. Okay. If we scroll down, we'll see the courses that we're enrolled in. I'm not sure why the student's actually enrolled in 2 economics courses, but we're going to use the one that's currently running. You'll see the name of the course here, and then the fine details of the section here. So if you have students that you want to identify the section as either the name of your ABE center or your last name, perhaps, you can put that detail in when you create a section, and then you'll set the end date as well in there. I do recommend that you turn on the end dates and have that present, because that will allow for the students to see kind of an outline of due dates. Is probably a good way to put it. And so with those due dates, it will give them these grades and they'll be able to see kind of progress. You can always change their end date if it's moving too fast or it's moving too slow, but without that end date, they won't have those metrics. So you can see those here. I'll explain the on-target grade, the course grade, and the current grade when we look at the teacher side and the differences there. You can see they're very different. All right, down bottom, we have a little icon that shows us where we're at ahead of pace. So we get a little green running person, and then 14 out of 32 graded assignments have been completed. You can see that little icon's different depending on the course and where you're at. So, all right, we'll go ahead and click in and we'll use economics today as our course. All right, some similar metrics here as we click into the course. Student name, we still have those home message and notes features up top. Some of those same metrics that we saw on the home screen there, right? I really like this bar though. It gives the person that's taking the course a bar here that shows them the progress they've made with a little black slash there that represents where they should be currently based on the due dates that have been set. It's a really easy way to look at a class and go, am I making progress adequately? And am I moving in the right direction? And I see a question in there real quick. Can students with the same course section have different end dates assigned? Yes, they can, and I will show you that when we get there. So we'll take a look at that at the teacher side. If I forget for some reason, please send me a message and remind me on that. The next thing down the student's going to see after the course title is they're going to be able to sort by the content in the course. So all content, what's due this week based on my due dates? What have I not done that should be done according to those due dates? What's not started, in progress, not mastered, and mastered. What I like to coach students on or learners on is not going to this all where it's defaulted there, because you can see it's a little overwhelming, especially if it's all expanded to see all the content in the course. Go, oh my goodness, what should I be doing? So using this weekly target, because it's a very manageable amount of work, is a really nice feature, especially if someone's overwhelmed by the amount of work there. Now, we're working with adult learners, and so it may be a little bit less daunting here, as we've seen in with some of the high school students that are using these courses. But that weekly target's still nice to take some pressure off, or as a pacing to know where we're at. So that is the basics of the homepage, clicking into the course. What I want to do is let's go in and take a look at some content and structure, right? We talked about the orientation and the syllabus, followed by our units with a pretest, discussion, and then our tutorials and mastery quizzes. When those are done, we have our unit activity and our post-test. So there's that structure that we talked about before. Let's come down here and jump into money and the Federal Reserve. Sounds like a fun one to look at today. So as a student clicks into where they're supposed to be, they'll click play to go through the tutorial and then the mastery test. Now I have these unlocked, so this is not locked, so we can look at it today, but this will typically be locked until somebody's progressed through the tutorial. All right, give it a minute to load here. Okay, so once we're in, you can see it's fairly easy to navigate through with these top buttons here on the right. We'll just click forward. Everyone starts with a little video, let you know the title, the objective of the lesson, and then a table of contents, and then we're into the introduction and the topic. Right, a warm-up question just to get your brain thinking about where we're at, so we put a great answer in there, right? And after we've submitted that, it will give them the sample answer. Let them know if they're on the right track or not. Okay. So now we're into the content. As I talked about before, a manageable amount on the page, right? A couple words, some pictures, or an infographic that goes with it to show them where we're at. We're going to get into some questions. Again, we're going to put a great answer in there. Submit that. It's going to then give them that sample answer again through the tutorial, because this work is not going to be graded. It's gonna give them that guiding piece, right? So here we go. We're in the content. Now this is what I wanted to start showing you, is some of the supports built in for students as they progress through. So we have some words that may be content specific, academic language, vocab words, you name it, that are important to the content. They're clickable, and you're able just to click on that and see the definition. Excuse me one second. Outside of that, we have some really awesome tools on the left-hand side here. This top one is your table of contents, so you can move through the content. You don't have to go in order if you've gone through it once. The first time through, you'll notice these are grayed out, so you do have to move through it in order. The second time through, you're good to go unless you've failed that mastery test. Then it's going to ask you to go in order again. But if you're going back for review, it'll all be unlocked. The next one is your note. This is where you would take a sample note, Federal Reserve, and this would show up back at our homepage under those note pieces, right? So you can see that's auto saved there. You don't need to worry about that saving or clicking save there. And then your next one is your resources. And this is where I want to show you the guided notes, and I'll show you these on the teacher side too. Guided notes, though, are only available for the core content. So your math, English, social, and science again. And they're a great tool. They go through the entirety of the unit, and they're very thorough. So don't worry, though, as the instructor, there is a filled-in version for you. So you don't have to try to guess and go what goes in each of those. But it's a fantastic tool for learners to use as they progress through. And I'm just going to go ahead and X out of there, go back to here. Let's see, we have a glossary and a specific glossary to economics as well there in those resources. The next one's a dictionary. It's there if they want to use it. Helpful. I know most people are pulling out their phone or asking Siri or Google nowadays, but that's there if they want to use it. Reading tools. Many learners like to listen to the content versus read it. And some want to use it, whether it's just a preference or it's a need. You can turn on full slide narration or click to speak, and I'm not sure if one's hearing that or not, but you changed it over here. And then if you want to turn on click to speak, this will show you it just the highlight area is what's red, and you can change that voice preference to Ava or Tom if you have a preference. So that's there too. And students can turn this on or off. It is not something that an instructor has to go in and add in here. It's available for everybody. The next one down is a translate feature. You can see there's a number of languages available here. It is a copy and paste, then translate. It's not available yet. I believe it's coming at some point. Don't have a date on it, but in an audio version for some of the languages. So an example of this, we'll just go ahead and copy. We paste it in here, what we want translated. Pick our language, we'll go Portuguese. Click translate, and you can see it's pretty instantaneous as a translation tool. The last one is your highlighter, and I skipped over the calculator, but I'll come back to that. The highlighter here, you can highlight any of the content that you want to for review later. And those are the ones that are available in all courses. The calculator is available here because we're in an econ course, and we may need a calculator for economics. You'll see that pop up in your math courses, some of your science courses as well. And you may see some other tools that are content specific show up too. So a good example of that is in an algebra class, you have a graphing tool that will show up. So don't be surprised if you see some additional ones outside of what we have reviewed there. I'm going to go ahead and save and exit this. Since you've kind of seen what the content looks like, let's take a look at a mastery test real quick. And again, that mastery test is a 5-question test. It's a bank of questions, and your goal is to get 4 correct. So there's a mix of multiple choice, select all that apply, drag and drop. Drag and drop, just make sure it turns gray before you let go. And I'll go into those spots. I'm just going to click through so you can see the feedback that we get. And there you go, there's another drag and drop. So there you go, wait for it to turn gray. And once I'm done with my 5 questions, it will show me how long I took, how many questions of the total I answered. I'll say, okay, it'll give me my feedback. All right, I got 1 out of 4 correct. I did not reach my goal of 4 answers, didn't hit that 80% threshold. So I need to go back and look at the content. So we'll close that, and you'll see here that we're now locked out of this until we review that tutorial. So, all right. Those are the mastery tests and the tutorials. Are there any questions before I move on? I want to stop there. I'm going to show you the discussions, and I'll show you the unit activities book too. Any questions? I'll take a peek. I don't see any chats coming through. Oh, there's one. Perfect. And feel free to unmute too. Which, if any, courses are optimized for mobile devices? Courseware does work on a mobile device, similar to like on an iPad. I would say the bigger the screen, the better, right? I prefer using a Chromebook or a laptop, but I know the generation younger than me likes the screen where they can touch screen and move forward that way. And so both work. That mobile device, I would just say it's such a small screen, it can be really hard, but it will work. Okay, let's take a peek at a discussion. Now we'll just click in this and take a look at it. So discussion, it gives you the topic here, and then you would just respond to the topic. Other students can see your response as well as the teacher can respond to. You can both respond to the topic and to other students in The teacher does have access to delete a response if need be, but there's no rubric or anything that says what you need to do as far as responses go within the discussion. That's up to teacher discretion. So if you do use a discussion and you choose to keep them in, make sure you outline what you're asking people to do in there. If you want them to respond to the discussion topic and respond to 2 other responses, or just respond to the discussion topic, or we can turn them off. And I'll show you how to do that in the teacher side. All right, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there. Take us back here. We'll close this out. And let's look at a unit activity, and then we'll get out of here and jump into the teacher side. So unit activity, as you can tell once I get in here, it looks very similar, but it is very different. I like to say this is where you can tell if the learning's happening. So you'll see right away on this, the additional tool here for a graded activity. The student can submit for a score, submit for review. They can attach a file. They can record an audio file if they want to speak rather than type, and you're okay with that. And then they'll have their comments from you here. Very similar way to progress through it. Same as the other pieces with this top left arrow. Tells us our objective, gives us an introduction, gives us a rubric. So what are you looking for as far as answering the questions, and what's the scoring look like on there? Very upfront. And then we jump into the task. And the tasks are not just one thing, right? I'll scroll down a little bit here, and there's a couple pages of questions. So this is where you really look at, what did I learn in those tutorials, and how do I apply that learning back here? That's that metacognitive and check, really moving up blooms, as we talked about earlier. And you'll see there's a couple pages of different things they have to do here. So this will take some time, but it's also a very, very good measure of what we're learning and what we're need some review on. And it'll also take time on the teacher side as well, because it's written response. Okay. I will go back to the home screen, and then I'm just going to click on notes just so you can see what it looks like, right? With that note that we took, here's our note, and I just took note on a sample not of the Federal Reserve, not a sample note. So there's a mistake on my end, but you see the notes show up here, so you don't have to go in and dig into your classes. So, okay. Well, that is the student side. I'm going to pause here and not exit and just ask again for any questions before I move into the teacher side. Give me 1 second. Zoom this. All right. I'll watch the chat here for just a second. I'll jump out and we'll jump into the teacher side. Okay. All right, so the teacher side, the fun side. Let's go here. All right, so when I log in as a teacher, my view is a little bit different, right? The first thing I land on is what's called Edmentum Sensei, and it's going to show me all the work that's been done by my students and what I need to know right off the bat. It's a snapshot of information. So we just had a locked mastery test because we didn't pass the money in the Federal Reserve mastery test, and that's telling us right there, and a score of 20%. So it'll give you that piece. If we go across the top here, right, we're on alerts right now, communications are going to show up. These are any messages that a student may have sent you, or that you may have sent them. One thing I will caution with this is if you're not regularly checking this, let your students know the best way to get a hold of you. We've had a couple of times that come up where a student's reaching out through Edmentum Courseware, and that it's not regularly checked by the staff members, so the feedback's not happening as fast as it could be. So just make sure that you let them know if you prefer an email over the internal communication here. So the students tab will give you a quick snapshot of when the last login was, how long they were logged in for, what were they working on. And it'll also actually show you this little gray circle will turn to green if they're online. So you can actually know. Perfect. So we're going to get to setting up a course here in just a second. I see that question come in. And then the Ready to Score tab is going to show you any assignments that are ready to grade, and you can go right to them just by clicking on them, and you can grade that. So that is that piece. To get into courseware, you're going to go up top to this little black bar, and you're going to find courseware and go down to your program. So I know that most of you should hopefully only be seeing one or two there. So select the correct program and go ahead and click on that. I know we're working on cleaning some of that up right now as well, and it'll take a little while, but we'll get there. And so you're only seeing your own pieces. Once you log into courseware, you have this across the top. The first thing it's going to default to is showing you your sections, which there's our econ course that we were just working in. Classrooms are if you're monitoring a group of students that you don't have in a class. You can pull a group of students in here and you can see where their progress is just to monitor them. You can go to students, and if you want to say, oh, I had Justin Bieber in econ, does he have any other enrollments? It would show you there are other enrollments there too. So you can see if maybe they're working with another instructor in your program. You can see that is there as well. And then active tasks, any grading that you need to do, anything that needs to be unlocked will show up here. So this is a great place to go. And you can unlock that right from here if you need to, or ignore it. But you don't need to go all the way into the course to do that. So active tasks is a great feature. Under menu up here in the right or top left corner, you'll have those same 4 options, as well as some reports if you want to pull any reports. Not going to go super far in depth on those today. We'll talk briefly at the end about those, but I want you to explore those once you have some of your own student data in there if you don't already. Okay, so to create a section when you log in, there's a green button here. Green means go, right? So we'll click it, and you can title your section here, right? If you want to call it, let's just go with a geography course, right? We'll first search for it. We'll find the course we want to use. Sorry, that's not where we're making our name yet. That was our search. We'll make our name here, right? So if I wanted to call it Kappel Geography, fall 23, we always recommend putting some indicator of when this course is running there. Put that in there. Then we can choose our end date. If we want to say, hey, we know we're going to have a natural break somewhere, actually it's probably the end of December, we can just go ahead and put our end date in there. If you want to use this no end date, by clicking this, it's going to disable those dates that kind of guide the users through when they should be turning things in. You can. I don't recommend it. I'll show you how to change the end date for individual students. As an instructor, you'll auto be added to the course. I wouldn't worry about lock after end date because you're probably checking in with your students, given the flexibility of the programs that you're running. And then if you want to put any notes on the course here, you can. This is only viewable, as it says here, to instructors and administrators. Within courseware, if you want to put directions for students, they'll see this one. And then you can just click continue to students. You'll be able to add students. And once you've added the students, save your section. You're good to go. And you don't need to add any students right away. You can just create a course with no students if you want to mess around with the content. So I'm going to cancel that. So we're not creating that new class, but we'll jump into a class. So that is, new section there. If you want to do it, it's pretty intuitive to follow through and create that section. Once you have your section, it will pop up in a list under my sections, and we'll look at that same econ course that we were looking at just for some continuity there. You'll see we have the same indicators from the teacher side that our students were seeing. So we have these icons showing where our students are at. The lock shows us how many things in the course are locked for students that they're not able to access that may need to be unlocked. And then the little clock represents what needs to be scored. So is there a discussion? Is there a unit activity that's come in that we need to take a look at and score for our students? Going all the way across, you can pull a couple quick reports there. You can get to your gradebook and your curriculum management here as well. I'm going to show you both of these, but inside of the course. And then you have your section settings here that you can go back in and edit end dates for the section if you need to, or you can copy a section if you want to copy forward the section and reset dates. For, let's say we're in fall, we can copy it and create our spring section. Okay, I'm going to jump in and click on the name of the course. It's going to take me into the course. You'll see a couple of those indicators again right away. These are sortable, so if I want to just look at my off-pace students, I can click on it and see who's off pace, and also see who's ahead of pace. Right, there we are. We were just Justin Bieber. So, but I'll set it, put it back to all students. And the functionality from this page, anytime you see these three dots, they're going to have some different things in there that are usually worth looking at. So if we click the three dots for an individual student, this is where we would reset a password for them, send a message, and we can edit our start and end dates. So that's to edit it for an individual student. It's in those three dots within your class. We can adjust it. So let's say the class is going to end, and I want to grant some additional time for a student. We can roll this forward, or I want the pacing to reflect that my class may have started in September, but the student came in November, right? Let's move that start date to November so that those on-target dates reflect accurately for them, right? If the dates are being causing a big distraction, we can hide those target dates as well so they can't see them, right? And then apply past progress and drop from section. Apply past progress is if they were in a different course and they came to you and there was some data in Edmentum from another class that they were in, it would pull that in. Most likely that's not going to apply, so you can just disregard that one. If it comes up and you need to work through it, please reach out to me and we can go through that together. Okay, before we look at an individual student's curriculum management, I want to go in and I want to look at the gradebook and our curriculum management here. This is where you'll unlock things for the whole class. These two are the whole class features. So first we'll go into our gradebook, and in the gradebook, you're going to see just that, a gradebook. There's really not much more functionality in here outside of it. I'm just going to check the chat real quick while we're here. Sorry, I've got to hit another button to see the chat. So you'll see the scores are popping up from the students that have done work here, and they're editable. You can click into them. So let's say that Justin Bieber did this assignment at 70, or we'll use this, we'll use a 70, and really, we know that we worked on it, and it should reflect as an 80. We can just simply type in 80 and hit enter, it will change. You notice that that gray circle came up, and all that means is it's an altered score. It wasn't something that the computer put in there. So that's all the gray circle denotes, and you can see some other symbols like an E. The E means it's an exempted score, which typically means they took a pretest and they tested out of that area. So if you have questions in the gradebook on what it means, go up to the status legend. It does a really nice job of showing that. All right, here's where I want to cover the different types of grades because they're confusing. You can see the three grades that are really showing are on target, current grade, and course grade. On target and current grade can be challenging because they can be very similar. They can also be very different. If you go down to these next two students, you'll see that. And then the course grade. The course grade is easy to remember because it represents 100% of the entirety of the course. So how much of the entire course have you finished, right? If we ended things today, where are you at? So that's showing that Justin Bieber had 25.68% of all credit earned in the entire course. It's a nice metric, especially if you're pushing to like an 80% completion rate of the course. It will show you that. And it factors in their scores. So it's not giving them 100% of the activity counting toward that. So you can complete a course and not have 100%. All right. The difference between on target and current grade. Let's look at Selena Gomez here as our example, because there's quite a big difference there. So on target grade is the closest grade that I would I would say to what we're familiar with when we were in school, right? Think about being in a classroom at high school back years ago when you were there, and a teacher printed out a printout and put the grade on the wall. That's your on target grade. It includes all the work that was due until today, including zeros, including great scores. Right? It's everything and it shows you everything. Okay. That's our on target grade. Our current grade shows you the quality of the work that you've completed that's been due until today. So that one does not include missing work. It's more showing you the quality of the work that you've done that's been due until today. Okay, those are confusing. I'll stop there. Any questions on the grade book before I pull us out of the grade book? Okay, perfect. I'm watching that chat. Also in here, 3 dots again, we'll call it out. There's some very nice reports here that are available for you. If you want to work with a student, I really like the gradebook report card. It's a nice snapshot real quick of where they're at in the gradebook without pulling up everybody's information. So you'll also notice there's some check boxes that you can complete multiple students. If you have students that have finished the course, you can check their name and do that. And then approve and remove credit. I don't believe you're using that at all, so you can disregard that. Okay, I'm going to jump out of the gradebook. And of course, we're open a new tab every time we do go into something new. So I'll go ahead and click exit on that. The next thing I want to show is curriculum. So curriculum, we'll click on that. All right, so right away when you come in here, you're going to see everything for the entirety of the course here. All activities laid out. You'll see those target dates there. You'll see some things locked. I'm going to scroll back up, look away for a second so I don't make you dizzy. One thing I wish that was different, and if you're taking notes, this would be a great note to take, is when you log in, there's this curriculum settings bar, and it's defaulted to close. Click the little arrow on the right here, and it'll open up. And you can see there's a quick way to lock, hide, or omit all of these assignments. And this is for all of the, let's go, discussions, teacher graded, mastery test, pre-test, post-test, end of semester for the entire course. So best practice would be to, on the right side, to lock all of your pre-tests, lock all of your post-tests, and lock all of your end of semester tests. And ask your learners to check in with you before they move forward, right? For the discussions, if you're going to take those out, I would lock, hide, and omit, right? So locking them will mean they're locked down from students. Hiding them will take it out of their view, and omit will take it out of the grade book. So if you're going to not use discussions because you don't have learners at the same place or interacting with each other, just lock, hide, omit. You're good to go there, right? You can do the same with teacher graded, mastery tests, pre-test, post-test, end of semester. So don't forget that drop down there. It's very helpful. All right, next we'll scroll down here and we'll take a look at, let's go with our scarcity and opportunity costs here, right? That's a tutorial and mastery test. All right. Within an individual activity, if you want to lock, hide, omit, you just find the activity and you can go ahead and click on those 3 dots. You have your lock, hide, omit, and then you can also include, hide, or unlock right there as well. So if a student has mastery tests that locked, you can unlock it using these features. Remember, in the curriculum though, this is for all students in the course. I'm going to show you how to do it for an individual student. The other thing you can do is if you've noticed that your dates, I'll scroll down to the place, but we might run into that. So let's go money in the Federal Reserve, right? Right in here, we're going to have Thanksgiving as a holiday. If you've noticed that you've got work due there, you're going, I don't want them, my students working on content. Well, they should be taking some time off and taking a break. Click on that. If you scroll down, you have this edit target date. You can change that date. right? So just know that you have the opportunity to change the state, to take some stress off, especially as we come up across holidays and important days that we know are important to our students. Change those dates, make their life a little easier so they have a chance to step away or feel like they can step away, right? We know they have the opportunity to step away, but sometimes feeling it is a little bit. Okay. I'm going to click out of here. That was a curriculum management for all students. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Justin Bieber. I'm going to click on his name because we're going to look at his curriculum management just for the one student. You can see it's a similar page, but at the top you have some different metrics, right? You see those grades, you see the activities completed, and where they're at based on pacing. Let's go down here and take a peek. Let's see, what one were we working on? I think we were down in Unit 3, and we were looking at that. There it is, money in the Federal Reserve, since that's the one that we were looking at. Right, we can go in and we have our three dots here. We can still lock, hide, and omit for that student. You can also exempt. And the difference with exemption is exemption versus omit. Omit takes it out of the grade book, so it doesn't count. Exemption gives them 100% in the grade book, so it will boost scores. So that's a note to remember as well. And then we can go in and we can see, oh, we're at 20% for that unit, right? On that mastery test, we're 20%. You can click in on this little magnifying glass. Let me see, there we go. And you can actually see what they said, right? So you can review that. You can click next. You can see the learner's answer and the answer key. So you can quickly see what was right, what was wrong, review that with a student, and you can move through all of those questions and see that. So that is, anytime you see this little magnifying glass, you can click in there, see that. Okay. And that's available anytime you see that. Anytime there's a score, right? So mastery tests, pre-test, post-test, and those unit activities, you'll be able to see what's going on in the system. So you can always go into the student and take a look at that and then edit it. So that's what I was going to show you. Down here where we were at money in the Federal Reserve, let's say we don't want Justin to go through and do that tutorial to unlock this. For some reason, something happened and we just need to unlock it. We can just unlock, right? And you'll see that lock went away and we're good to go, right? So that you can always edit that way for a student if you're going, they don't need to review the whole thing. Let's just unlock that. We should be good to go. Okay, that is curriculum management for an individual student. Before I ask for questions, I'm going to show you the check marks from the very first spot. When you click into the course, right, you have these different check boxes here as well. And you'll see as soon as I click one, we have some tools that pop up on the bottom. And those tools will allow you to send messages to students. They'll allow you to edit those start and end dates. So if you have two students that came in November and you want to edit both at the same time, go ahead and do that there. You can also see the other options there of hiding target dates, applying past progress, and completing students, right? So when they're all done, what you want to do is you want to click that complete students. That way, that course will come off of their courseware, so they're not seeing it when they log in. And it signifies that they're done and we're good to go. Okay. Any questions before I move off of the curriculum management gradebook? I see a chat just came in. Yes, I can talk about hiding and omitting an activity one more time. Omitting the activity takes it out of the gradebook, so a student will not have to complete it. Hiding it just makes it not visible, right? So if you hide it without omitting it, a student won't see it in their view of courseware. So when they log in, they can't see it. If you hide and omit, they won't see and they won't be graded on it. So if you accidentally hide something and forget to omit, make sure you unhide it when you want the student to complete it. All right. Any other questions on this portion? Okay. I do want to show you the Help Center real quick as well. And we're going to end up with some time at the end after we talk about reporting and different pieces to talk specific questions. I know there's probably some things that you're going, I want to see a little deeper or a little more functionality on this. We'll have some time for that too. So Help Center, if you click on that, the thing I like to highlight is this top one, Learn and Support. It's got really good features in it, and that's where you're going to find your answer keys to those guided notes too. So if you scroll down, you'll see that there's what's new, how-to tours. If you have students that you want to give a tour of how to use courseware, that's there for them, as well as some resources for them too. And you might find some resources in the family resources as well for adult learners between those two. So let's take a look at that Learn and Support. So when you click into Learn and Support, you're going to see the guides for the different roles. So Administration Center, administrators, and instructors. So a lot of what we covered today, you'll find in this instructor's manual. But if you scroll down, you're going to find all the instructor resources for the courses that you have. And you have access to all the Minnesota courses. So let's go ahead and click on Minnesota. And once you're in here, I'm going to use social studies as our example. Remember, guided notes only available for those first four core contents: math, ELA, science, and social studies. So we'll click on social studies. We'll stick with our theme, right, of economics. So let's go ahead and click on economics. And when we get in here, you'll be able to see the syllabus. You have a teacher guide that will help you go through the content, right? Teaching multiple courses at the same time. We need to look at that sometimes. At least I'll speak for myself, right? And then your guided notes, right? If you click on the title, that's going to be the student version, that's blank. If you click on your key, you're going to have your filled in version. And then if you scroll down, you'll see some of the unit activity keys as well. If there's specific answers that need to be filled in there, that'll help you as a guide with those unit activities. So some great resources in here. Also a really good way to look at if you're wanting to add a course and you're going, is this the right thing? Click in and go ahead and take a look at that syllabus and see what it's really going over. If you scroll down, you'll see some weighting in the categories as well, and then a full breakdown of kind of what is expected time-wise, what activities are in there, and unit by unit it's there. So that's a really good resource as you look at adding courses and trying to see what you want to assign to students. Okay, I'm going to click out some of these and come back to our presentation here. All right, so we are done with that. What I want to, I'm going to save this for the end, and we're going to still have you do that. I'm going to jump to this slide, and we're going to take a look at this. Before I get going again, are there any questions on any of the pieces that we just saw? Student side, instructor side, creating a course, completing a student, and navigating curriculum. Right, I'm going to wrap up our formal presentation here. We probably have about 5 to 10 minutes left at most, and then we'll take time for some question and answer for specifics. So just a reminder on some of those instructional best practices, right? So thinking about your discussions, if you're going to use them, think about how you want your students to use them, right? Give them that guideline of responding, how long the response needs to be. Do they need to respond to others? And then your unit activities, those are those project-like assignments for students. They do come with the rubrics, but I would also encourage you to preload that they're going to take some additional time for students and to give their best effort on it, because that's really going to be your window into their learning, right? We have post-tests, we have pre-tests that auto-grade, but those written responses we know are very valuable. So our mastery tests, those are the 5-question tests after the tutorials that check for understanding. There are a bank of questions, so they're not going to see the same 5 questions every time they take that. But you are going to want to lock down some of those mastery tests as well. to start out so that students aren't progressing, or maybe you don't. I'll leave that to you, and that's kind of a teacher discretion piece. Do you want to lock that down or not? We do recommend that you lock it down so they have to go through the tutorial to unlock it, so they do the learning before they take the test, right? A good way around avoiding not taking content they already know would be those pre-tests. Okay, a couple more instructional best practices with our test security. For our instructional best practices, thinking about our pre-test, post-test, and end of unit or end of semester tests. There's only one iteration of each assessment. Those are the big ones. Those are 30 to 40 questions typically, and there's not multiple versions. So before you unlock that, make sure a student's ready. And if you're going to unlock them a second time, know they're going to see the same questions. So if you're going to unlock that for a second round, just think about, is there really an extenuating reason we should unlock this and utilize it that way? But because it's going to be the same questions. So just so you're aware of that as we go there. And then remember when we looked at the student side, those built-in accommodations on the left-hand side, those are really good things to point out as your learners go through the content, because not everybody goes over there to see what all is available, right? So a great resource to point out to everybody. All right, here we go. So running our usage reports, and I know this is important for ABE programs, right? To measure time on task and enter proxy hours into our spreadsheet. And this handout is going to cover some of that. So I will leave this up here, and I believe Elizabeth is going to send this out to everybody as well. It walks through how to run those usage reports. I can jump back in and show you that report as well real quick if you'd like. See in our chat. Perfect. Okay, I'll come back to this, but this is really, did we hit our targets? Are you able to identify key features, use that curriculum status to unlock, lock, hide, omit, and then utilize those best practices of locking down our assessments as we jump into that. So give me 1 second, I gotta hide this so I can see courseware again. All right. So when we go in here, I'm gonna go, yep, perfect. We're in courseware, right? We're gonna click into our program, and we're gonna see all of our courses listed here. When we click on this menu button again, up in the top left, you're gonna see all 4 of these options plus those reporting options. All right, so you can go ahead and click on a report. And we have no active reports there, so we're gonna go ahead and create a report. And you can create these reports for students to see. You can create these reports for yourself to see, right? So you can see a sample of each of the reports too down bottom. I love that feature because you don't have to run it. They do take a little bit of time to run. So you can download that. I'm gonna pop that up. Courseware audit report. Give my computer a second, sorry. Right, and you'll see the student and the teacher listed over here, as well as their first and last access, and then their total time that they've been in the system here. So that's a way to generate a report that will tell you their time in the system. So there is that one. I'm not going to save it. All right. And I'll just show you a couple of the other pieces, right? A weekly progress report is nice too, because this will give you a breakdown of what they've completed by week and how much time they spent on it. So if you're needing to report by week or month, right, it's going to give you the time and date, and then your time on task here as well, if you want to total it that way. So some really nice reports for running time in the system and what they've been working on. I'll let you explore those other ones. Okay. Any questions on reports? Let's see, one more chat here. Perfect. Thanks for putting that link in the chat, Elizabeth. Okay. So here we go. So a couple things. I'm not going to ask you to do this necessarily and share out or anything, but just thinking about reflections. What's one thing that you learned today that maybe we can try over the next week or two, just to take away with you? We'll come back to that. So help and support. I walked you through that help center and how to get help with that learning support, and then your state resources as well as those instructor guides. Here again is my email. If you want to email me, and it's just my first name dot last name at edmentum.com. Feel free to reach out at any point if you have a question that comes up and you're going, you said something, I don't want to watch the hour-and-a-half video. Shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So the last thing I'm going to ask of you, I have a survey from me, and this is really feedback for myself. We asked that at the end of these sessions that just a little feedback. One, are you able to navigate the program well enough to get started, right? Not an expert. Do you know how to get help if you need it? And I forget the third question off the top of my head, but there's that QR code. I have the link here. I'll put that in the chat for you as well, if you wouldn't mind taking that. And then let's dive in and we will answer some of these questions. Oh, that didn't copy right. Give me 1 second. I think I just sent you the piece that we copied into the translator. Oh, there we go. There's the link for you. Okay, let's conquer some questions. Excellent. I see the one question in there. Elizabeth, you got that. The Learner Daily Usage Report is a great report for that proxy tally. Some of you have additional access to administrative reports, and maybe Elizabeth and I will touch base and we can put together a session on how to access some of those administrative reports as well. But there's some additional reports there that if you don't have that access, you can reach out to whoever's the lead in your ABE program, and they will have program admin support, and they can run a couple additional support or reports for you. Okay. Let's stop sharing for now. And I'll just pause here, and if there are any questions that anyone has. Okay, everyone should have program admin support.
Andrew, I don't think, towards the beginning of your presentation, you said you highly recommend putting in due dates, and I really never have in my open labs. Just because I don't know. It seems like it was logical to me when I made that choice that people would be coming and going, and I wanted them to self-pace, but maybe I could just, now that you showed me how I could set it up, maybe I can offer it to students who want that little nudge.
And you can always hide those as well. Do you remember where that was when I showed you the check boxes next to their name? I'll show it to you again real quick.
I do. I couldn't get there without looking a little bit.
Yeah, give me 1 minute to get back to where we need to be, and I will share my screen here. Okay, let's do a screen share. You know what? I need to stop sharing again because I just shared a tab and it's going to open a new tab on us. All right, here we go. All right, I think everybody's seeing the right thing. So we'll go right back into the econ course that we were in. So I'm just in the course right now. When you select their name with this checkbox, you can show or hide target dates. So if you have students who are like, okay, I want that as a whole for my class, but I don't want it for these students, just go in and show or hide. So, and all it's going to do is it's going to give you this toggle that you can turn it off.
Okay.
So, I will preface this. I say, I do think it's a good idea to have them, but you know your students best, right? I think everybody's so different as a learner, and you know them best. So don't just because I say it's a great
I don't know
practice.
that I do. They come and go so quickly that um, yeah. And that's why I don't really put a date on the courses anymore, like fall semester. I don't 2023. I don't do that anymore because it just creates a need to go in there and remember how to take it off or copy or whatever.
Well, and what we've seen is a lot of more ABB programs are doing like a full year course, right? We're not doing the semester, quarter, trimester deal, just a full year course. What that will help with too is as courses are updated, usually that summer rollover will give us the opportunity to say, oh, there was a new class there, and they'll pull in that content. So just a kind of back end piece for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions that anyone has that I can answer? Well, I want to say thank you. And please, again, as you do get rolling in courseware, as you want to explore some more of those features, whether it's reports or whatnot, or how to generate recurring reports is kind of a next step thing. If you get there and you have questions, please reach out. Right? We do these trainings a couple times a year, but that in between, that please email me so that we can work through that. And if we need to jump on a quick call together, I'm happy to do that with you. So. Again, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Absolutely.